No matter which zodiac sign you are, you carry within you both light and shadow. Today's video will reveal the hidden, unsettling truths that the 12 zodiac signs rarely talk about, secrets you may have never heard before. In reality, every zodiac sign contains both positive and negative traits. Everyone has a good side and a darker side within their personality. While the kind-hearted nature of a person is often easy to see, we can't deny that deep inside each of us harbors something darker and sometimes even frightening. You think you're a good person. Maybe you are, but maybe it's not that simple, because the truth is, no one is entirely kind and no one is truly evil. Whether you're a fiery Aries, a calm Taurus, or a gentle Pisces, within each sign lies two faces. One is the bright side you willingly show the world. The other is a shadow, buried deep, quietly pulsing beneath the surface, a part even you might not want to admit is yours. We often talk about the strengths of zodiac signs: Capricorn's diligence, Leo's generosity, Libra's sense of fairness. But few are ready to face the disturbing parts each sign hides. Like Aries's explosive impulsiveness, Sagittarius's subtle emotional manipulation, or Capricorn's cold detachment disguised as ambition. And today you'll walk with me into that darkness. Not to judge, not to sensationalize, but to understand. Behind every polished exterior, there's a primal self, one that can wound both us and the ones we love if left unseen. Are you ready? Because what you're about to hear may give you chills, but it will also help you understand yourself more deeply than ever before. Don't think of astrology as nothing more than ancient symbols tied to zodiac signs. The true nature of astrology is a deeper lens through which we understand human behavior, with all its complexity, unconscious drives, and raw instincts that we carry day after day. Each zodiac sign is a slice of the personality map. It's not just a name, but an energetic imprint shaped by the position of the sun at the time you were born. And that energy, under the influence of its ruling planets, forms your habitual patterns of thought, emotion, reaction, and how you respond to certain situations. For example, Mars, the planet of action and aggression, gives Aries its directness and readiness to explode when hurt. Saturn, the strict and principled planet, makes Capricorn someone who rarely softens emotionally. And Neptune, the planet of dreams and illusions, pushes Pisces into fantasies so vivid that they no longer know what's real and what's not. What matters most is this: the dark sides of each zodiac sign aren't meant to be condemned, but to be brought to light. Because when we understand the mechanisms that lead us into negativity, we finally gain the power to transform them into awareness, into choice, into control. And now, after understanding why each of us carries a difficult part within, it's time to unravel each sign one by one. Aries is the symbol of beginnings, the first flame that lights the zodiac wheel. Carrying the fierce warrior energy ruled by Mars, they are the embodiment of bravery, breakthrough, and the refusal to be limited by anything or anyone. But that same courage, when left unchecked, can spiral into reckless impulsiveness. Aries cannot stand the feeling of being overshadowed. A small insult, a dismissive look, or a single misunderstanding, any of these can be enough to ignite their fury, and when that anger erupts, they don't care who's right or wrong. All they know is they're under attack, and they must strike back. Unlike Scorpio's cold, calculated rage, Aries explodes like a ticking bomb. Their words cut like knives, their actions lack restraint, all unleashed from a primal survival instinct. They can deeply hurt others with their raw bluntness, only to later withdraw and drown in guilt and isolation. And the most frightening part? In the heat of that fury, they feel no remorse, because for Aries, fighting is instinct, and without the fight, they no longer feel like themselves. Taurus is earth, grounding, solid, unwavering. They live slowly, steadily, and with a quiet sense of stability. Once they've committed to something, Taurus will hold on with all their faith and strength. To them, steadfastness is a noble virtue, a way to survive in a world that constantly shifts and spins. But behind that steadfast nature lies a silent and sometimes frightening kind of stubbornness. When Taurus has placed their trust in someone, letting go becomes nearly impossible. Even when the relationship has rotted from the inside, even when the feelings have long since dried up, they still cling, like a gatekeeper guarding a crumbling castle, unable to admit it's already fallen. They hold on to what they want with a deep-rooted belief. If I just hold on a little longer, everything will go back to how it was. They hate change, fear losing control, and have a strong tendency to possess not only objects, but people too. And when they can no longer keep what once belonged to them, Taurus can spiral into a surprisingly destructive mindset. They may go silent, grow cold, cut ties, or even tear things down just to protect their inner voice whispering, "No one takes what was once mine." Taurus may seem safe, but they become dangerous when love turns into possession and endurance turns into a chain. If you think Gemini only has two faces, then you've never truly stepped into their world, because Gemini isn't just two people in one. They're a series of shifting versions of themselves, now close, now distant, now open, now detached, all within a few breaths. Gemini is air, and air never stands still. They're sharp, quick-witted, adaptable, which means they know how to shape their words, emotions, and actions to fit whoever they're speaking to. But because they're so flexible, they often become someone no one really understands. To one person, they're a soulmate. To another, a cool, unreadable mystery. And sometimes, even they don't know who they truly are. You Gemini doesn't lie with bad intentions, but they are masters at creating illusions. They might promise something today and forget it tomorrow. They might know your deepest secret and casually turn it into an entertaining story at a dinner party. What hurts the most? Realizing that Gemini isn't cruel, they just never stay still long enough to truly see someone for who they are. They move too fast, think too fast, speak too fast, and in that whirlwind, trust can get lost in the breeze. Cancer is the moon, gentle, quiet, and always hiding behind a protective shell. They live through emotion, react through instinct, and love with everything their heart can possibly give. But because of this, they're easily caught in the spiral of hurt, then turn it into a role they play endlessly, with no clear ending. When in love, Cancer gives a lot. They nurture, they sacrifice, they stay silently by your side, believing that if they're sincere enough, the other person will eventually understand. But when that love isn't returned, they don't get angry, don't blame, they simply retreat into their shell, carrying the pain of abandonment like a permanent companion. The sad part is, sometimes Cancer's care isn't purely for others, it's to fulfill their own need to be seen as a good person. And when that doesn't happen, they cast themselves in the role of the world's #1 victim. They don't demand fairness with words. They choose silence laced with meaning so that others will feel guilty. They make loved ones guess, squirm, feel sorry, because their vulnerability becomes the most effective shield. And when no one seems to care anymore, they only believe more deeply. See, I told you, no one in this world ever truly cares. Leo enters the world as if the stage had been waiting for them all along. They shine naturally, without trying. Their generous spirit, warm heart, and confident energy make people gravitate toward them. But behind that radiant light lies a thirst, a craving to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be endlessly admired. Leo doesn't need shallow compliments. They want deep admiration. They want to be recognized as the most special person in any group they enter. And when that doesn't happen, when someone else outshines them in the same room, they feel hurt. But instead of jealousy, what shows up is pride. When criticized, Leo can emotionally shut down. They might go silent, withdraw, or turn sarcastic, not because they can't take feedback, but because they can't stand feeling diminished. For Leo, confidence and pride are only a breath apart. They can be the generous king or the puppet master of the stage, needing others to remain under their spotlight. And the saddest part, when Leo isn't praised, they begin to question their own worth, even though, deep down, they're still just a child, longing to be loved as they are. Virgo lives as if everything in life can be organized, if only we're careful enough. They love details, are strict with their own standards, and always want the world around them to run smoothly and flawlessly. But in idealizing perfection, Virgo unwittingly traps themselves inside a cage of their own making. They plan for every possible scenario. They control every tiny step. And when even the smallest thing strays from their design, they become internally unsettled. It doesn't come out in anger, but in sharp complaints, disapproving glances. or cold detachment that makes others feel guilty without knowing why. To Virgo, no one is ever quite good enough, not even themselves. They examine themselves under a microscope daily, picking at every flaw, shaving off every edge, until they lose the ability to be gentle with themselves, and because of that they struggle to accept the messiness in others, both emotionally and behaviorally. They don't control through power, but through expectation. Virgo may seem harmless, but they can make those living with them feel like they're failing an exam every day simply because they can't meet the unspoken standards Virgo silently upholds. Libra is born to keep the peace. They hate conflict, avoid arguments, and always look for ways to please everyone. With the symbolic scales in their hand, they are seekers of justice in a world that constantly leans off balance. But in being too fair, they often become dangerously indecisive. Libra doesn't want to upset anyone, doesn't want to take sides, and refuses to make decisions that might hurt someone's feelings. So, instead of standing for truth, they stand in the middle. Instead of defending what's right, they protect the relationship. And in many cases, their silence is no different from nodding along with the wrong. They empathize too much. They can see the pain even in the one who's at fault, and that makes them hesitate to speak up. To them, the wrongdoer may just be misunderstood or wounded. But what they don't realize is, in many situations, kindness at the wrong time is nothing more than enabling. Libra isn't malicious, but without learning to be brave, they may end up being the last to see how they helped tilt the scales of justice with their gentle indifference. And the saddest part, they often feel conflicted inside but lack the decisiveness to break free from it. Scorpio doesn't yell. They don't make a scene when they're hurt. They simply remember. Silent but storing it all. Calm but never forgetting. Beneath their cold, composed exterior, Scorpio keeps everything. Every word that cut them, every glare that wounded them, every betrayal etched into memory, permanently. And then they turn that memory into a weapon. Scorpio doesn't retaliate right away. They wait. They watch. They pretend to have forgiven just enough for the other person to let their guard down, and when the moment is right, they strike. Quietly, without blood or chaos, but sharp enough, painful enough, that the other person may never lift their head again. To Scorpio, revenge isn't impulsive, it's calculated strategy. Worse still, sometimes they don't even have to act. All they need is to disappear, withdraw, or grow cold, just enough to make the other person spiral in silence and guilt. The problem is, Scorpio isn't evil. They're just deeply sensitive, easily wounded, and don't know how else to protect themselves but by turning pain into personal justice. But when justice is defined by emotion, it will always be distorted, and in that war, Scorpio is often the one who ends up most hurt, without ever saying a word. Sagittarius is the freest flame in the zodiac. They carry a spirit of optimism, a wide-open heart, and feet always ready to chase the next horizon. Anyone who's ever been close to a Sagittarius can feel it, that untamed energy that makes you want to break free from everything and just live. But few realize that behind the playful teasing and easygoing smile lies a surprisingly refined form of psychological persuasion. Sagittarius doesn't force, they convince. They tell stories. They paint vivid pictures of liberation, of new beginnings, of the price of freedom, and make you believe that hesitation means you're limiting yourself. They don't have to be direct. They just plant a small seed of doubt in your choices and then step back to watch you tear it all down yourself. Your job, your responsibilities, your relationships, to follow an adventure they themselves aren't sure will lead anywhere. The truth is, Sagittarius isn't malicious. They just crave experience so deeply that they see all boundaries as chains, and anyone who doesn't run with them, they quietly label as someone who's living the wrong way. They never hold your hand too tightly, but they know exactly how to make you let go, just to follow them, even if it's only for a little while. Capricorn is the silent climber. They don't need spotlights, applause, or cheerleaders. All they need is a goal, and the path, they'll draw it themselves. To them, success is a duty, and discipline is non-negotiable. But in that relentless journey upward, Capricorn slowly trades away the softest parts of themselves. They don't have time to be weak. They don't allow themselves to dream. Emotion, to Capricorn, is a luxury, one that could derail everything if it slips in for even a moment. So they lock it away, they hide their feelings, cage their heart, until it hardens like stone. They love, but without romance. They care, but rarely show it. They hurt, but never complain. And because of this, they're often misunderstood as cold, detached, obsessed with work, status, and results. The truth is, Capricorn isn't heartless. They've just grown used to sacrificing their vulnerability in order to become invincible. But sometimes, in the quiet of a night no one else sees, they ask themselves, am I really standing at the top of success, or just frozen in a place that feels empty and cold? Aquarius doesn't quite live in this world, at least not fully. Their mind is always reaching toward the future, toward what's new, toward things others haven't even imagined yet. They're the trailblazers, the questioners, the rule breakers, out to build a better world. But because they live so high in the clouds of ideas, they often lose touch with the ground of reality. Aquarius isn't cold, they just struggle to connect through ordinary emotions. They prefer reasoning over comforting, observing over empathizing. When someone cries, Aquarius might ask, "Why do you feel that way?" as if conducting a casual study on human behavior. To Aquarius, emotion is data. They collect it, analyze it, but rarely let it reach their heart. This makes them the person who knows everything, yet feels far away. Even in close relationships, they keep a certain distance, not because they don't love, but because they fear being swallowed by emotional chaos. And sometimes, in their mission to fix the world, Aquarius forgets that the world is not a lab where things change through formulas alone. People are not models, feelings are not variables. Yes, the world needs streamers, but it also needs real hugs. Pisces is a bottomless stream, where the boundary between reality and fantasy is nothing but a thin veil of mist. They live by intuition, love with their soul, and experience life as if it were a piece of music, beautiful, gentle, and sometimes filled with so many layers that only they can truly hear. They are sensitive to the point where a single glance can make their heart tremble. They imagine so vividly that one sentence can become an entire story in their mind. And when the outside world turns harsh, they don't confront it. They retreat. They sink into dreams where every wound is softened by the glow of illusion. But that's exactly what makes Pisces so fragile. They fall in love easily, trust easily, give their whole heart effortlessly, and shatter just as quickly when reality doesn't match the world they've painted inside. They don't clearly separate real emotions from imagined ones, and when they're betrayed, they don't get angry. They dissolve, drowning in their own ocean of feelings, with no idea how to swim out. Pisces doesn't like to fight, they just want to drift. But if that current is made of tears, sorrow, and self-pity, the dream becomes a flood. And when that flood arrives, it sweeps away everything, reason, belief, and sometimes even themselves. Each zodiac sign carries within it a unique form of energy, part radiant luck, part hidden shadow. To fully live in alignment with your true nature and attract good fortune the right way, you can activate the light and soothe the dark through simple practices. Choosing the right colors, using a phone number aligned with your birth element, wearing healing stones, or even performing small rituals specific to your sign. This is the journey of decoding and mastering the energy within you, not by changing who you are, but by understanding yourself clearly and living in harmony with it. Don't forget to follow the channel to explore more videos on how to attract luck, wealth, and love, tailored just for your zodiac sign.